Hello BookTube, this is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book. I have a tag for Tag Tuesday, my first one in a little while because I was getting behind on tags and then I decided to make my own tag. Also, making your own tag is a good way to find loads of new BookTube channels that you don't watch. So I've been watching a lot of new channels, but this is well, this tag's been around for a little while now, but it's the Sir Isaac Newton tag, and this was created by Reading Ideas, and I was tagged by Reading Ideas. This is a really interesting tag to watch actually, because unlike what I do and what a lot of other people do, is in the original video he doesn't answer the tags himself. He just tells you the element of Sir Isaac Newton's life that inspired the tag in sort of quite good detail. So you actually learn a lot about Isaac Newton just watching the tag video for this one. But it's a classic go grab a big pile of books tag, which I always enjoy. But I'll try not to speak too long about each book. Yeah, so all the tags, all the prompts are about elements of Newton's life. So we'll start at the beginning, which is always helpful. Number one, adopted or sent away or abandoned. A book with a character that is adopted, sent away, or abandoned. I don't know this. I guess it counts as adopted sort of thing, but it's a kind of accidental adoption. I'm going to go with Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. This is a book about an angel and a demon, and their basically job is to stay on Earth and keep an eye on things, and both of them grow to love Earth, and when the apocalypse is on the way, they kind of form an uneasy pact with each other to try and stop it because they're quite enjoying their life on Earth. But the apocalypse involves the Four Horsemen and the Antichrist. And the Antichrist is born at the beginning of this book and accidentally swapped with a normal child. So I suppose it's an accidental adoption. So the Antichrist ends up growing with a very like Middle England sort of idyllic upbringing. But yeah, brilliantly funny book. I love Terry Pratchett. He was like the person who got me into reading, and I read this one quite late, but it is a very good one. And the TV show was good. I didn't watch all of it, but the few episodes I saw were very good adaptations. That's already quite long on the first question. There's lots of questions in this. Number two, use or measurement of time. A book where time is a crucial element. I am going to go for a non-fiction this, and I live in the great London borough of Greenwich, where time was invented. So I have to pick a book about Greenwich in a way. And I'm picking Longitude, the true story of a lone genius who solved the greatest scientific problem of his time, by David Sobel. And that I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name, by the way. But that's a very long title. Most people just call it Longitude. And this is a non-fiction book about John Harrison, the timepiece maker, who created a marine chronometer. These are lots of long words here. And basically what happened is the Royal Society was formed to solve the problem of longitude, which is where because in international shipping and sailing, you need to know your longitude in order to accurately measure where you are in the world. So it seems weird now, but we didn't have any accurate timepieces or timepieces that kept incredibly accurate for a long time. And when you're sailing across an ocean, if you're 5 seconds off or something, you could end up hundreds of miles away from where you're meant to be. So this problem was a massive thing. That's why the Royal Society was formed. And there was basically two methods that people were trying to solve it with. Accurate timepieces and accurate maps of the stars, I think, was the other one. But yeah, it was solved by John Harrison, who was a quite humble man. He was not like a big, well-known scientist or anything. He was just a watchmaker from quite working class background. But he had lots of issues claiming the prize and stuff. There was a prize, longitude prize, associated with solving this problem, and there was like big scientists who argued against it being solved and things like that. There's lots of infighting and stuff, but the devices he created, which is like H1, H2, H3, H4, are beautiful objects. They're just wonderful to look at, and they are in Greenwich. I think some of them are in the Maritime Museum and some of them are in the Royal Observatory. But yeah, I've been seeing them, and they're lovely objects, and it's a very interesting non-fiction book about a problem that kind of doesn't exist anymore. So it's very interesting to think back that we didn't have accurate time. Again, way too long on that question. Number 3, Test of Strength, a book where the character has to pass the test of strength. I've got a bit strange on this one. I've gone with Dragon's Bane by Barbara Hamley, and this is, I really love this book. It's kind of a very adult fantasy book in that the character's quite old and and one of them has glasses and stuff, and it's quite unusual. But the test of strength in this is, one of the characters is like famous for having defeated a dragon, the Dragon's Bane. But it was kind of lucky that he defeated the dragon, and it was a young dragon, I think. And in this one, it's a very sort of normal questy fantasy book, but with this added element that they're old and they're not sure they could actually defeat a dragon at full strength. So that's the test of strength, and I just love that this is a very fantasy, full of fantasy tropes, but it questions them all. And Bob Hamley's a very good writer as well. 4, a character with a dark side or a temper. A book where the character has dark side or temper. Yeah, Wuthering Heights. Everyone in this has bad temper. Heathcliff, their upbringing is awful because of the bad tempers, and then they have bad tempers when they're adults. I won't talk too much about Wuthering Heights, but I love it. Quest number 5, quest that destroys the personal life, but where the quest is deemed so big that the character either chooses to have no personal life or is destroyed. I'm going to go with the most questy of the questiest books, and that is Lord of the Rings by J.R. Tolkien. This quest obviously takes years of Frodo and Merry and Pippin and Sam's lives, and it really destroys their life in that second breakfasts are really hard to come by on the quest. Number 6, Questionable Decision, a book where the main character makes a questionable decision. I'm going to go with War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. I haven't read this translation yet. This is the new one I've bought. But I've read another translation. There's a character in this who makes a really weird decision. Like, he's winning the war, and then he decides to invade Russia in the winter. I forgot what his name is. Napoleon Bonaparte. Yeah, very questionable. Number 7, Scale Change, a book where an object or a place that goes through a scale change. I could have picked multiple Terry Pratchett books here. I've kind of forgot that I'd already picked one, but I'm gonna pick another Terry Pratchett book. I would say that there's the series that really got me into reading was the little people ones that he did, like the Carpet People, Truckers, Wings. They're all, none of them are Discworld novels, but I'm gonna pick a Discworld novel because I couldn't find my Carpet People copy. But this would actually be one of the Terry Pratchett books I would recommend as a starting place. This or Guards, or Going Postal maybe. But this is the first book in the Tiffany Aching series, and there's a there's like these Knack McFeagle, they're little men, and they're basically just Scottish people. It's just little tiny Scottish people, and they're nutters, and they like headbutting people, and they love a fight and a drink. Very funny book, and a very good starting place for Terry Pratchett. And I think they're technically young adults, these ones, so they're good for reading with children as well. But the scale changes, obviously, the people. They don't get shrunk, they're just already shrunk. Number 8, Falling or Something to Do with Gravity, a book where something or someone is falling, or where gravity plays a part. I could have chosen a lot of different science fiction books for this one, but one that really comes to mind is Fountains of Paradise by R.C. Clarke. And this came to mind because it's about a space elevator, so building a elevator between the Earth and orbit, which is a concept that would save huge amounts of fuel and energy getting things into space. Because once you've got the space elevator, you no longer need a rocket to get you into space. It's something to do with gravity, but if you have a platform outside of orbit, outside of the atmosphere, and a connection, you can use it just like a normal elevator, pulling things up and down with not much energy used. So this book is a very kind of odd book about building a space elevator, and it's also about the history of Sri Lanka in a weird way. But yeah, one of Clarke's more interesting books, and there is obviously the gravity element. I'm guessing Something Falls as well. I can't really remember, but I'm guessing that something falls down the elevator. Number 10, Revenge/Punishment, a book with an element of revenge or punishment. I've gone very simple here and just chosen a book with revenge in the title. Emotional Revenge by Ashley Weaver. This is the third book in the, what's the series called? Amory Ames and Milo series, and these are basically the like young Miss Marple books. So it's like a high society woman called Amory Ames and her sort of very famous husband, sort of playboy husband, and they've got like really good dialogue between each other, but they kind of accidentally find themselves in crimes and solve them. Very Marple-esque. This one is about, they go to a sort of classic country house party, and it's a party of a novelist, and she had written her first book, and someone is murdered, I think, at the launch party of her first book. I don't know if I remember this right, but she invites everyone back who was at that party to a second party, and she's releasing a book and says that the book will reveal who the murderer is, and people start getting murdered. But yeah, I really enjoy this series. It's very light reading, but very funny and good fun. Rise and Fall, a book with a rise in status followed by a catastrophic fall. There's a slight spoilers alert here for Tudor history, but I'm gonna say Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. The whole trilogy. I guess you'd have to include the rest of the trilogy for the fall. But Cromwell, Thomas Cromwell, was a butcher's son from Putney, and he rose up to be sort of the greatest man outside of Henry VIII in the realm. And then what happens with friends of Henry happened to him as well. So yeah, these are, in my opinion, the best ever historical fiction books that I've read, certainly. And the last sort of few chapters of The Mirror and the Light are so incredibly beautifully written. It's like just wonderfully done series in general, and it's really sad that Hilary Mantel didn't live to write another book after. But yeah, she's left like one of the great trilogies, so she can be happy with that. Last question is number 12. A genius. Which writer do you consider a genius, or a character that's a genius? I've gone with a writer that I think is a comedy genius, the writer of the most funny books that I've ever read, P.G. Wodehouse. And I've picked Jeeves and Wooster on purpose because Jeeves is kind of a genius as well, isn't he? He's brilliant at everything he puts his hand to. But yeah, I think P.G. Wodehouse, although his books are rightfully regarded as very silly, he's such a brilliant writer as well. Like one of the best uses of language of any novelist I've ever known. So I think he really is a genius. But yeah, that's the Isaac Newton book tag. How long did I go? Not too long. That's all right. So yeah, really good original tag by Reading Ideas. I'll leave a link down below. Go check it out. I'm not going to tag anyone because this was done quite a long time ago now, so everyone's been tagged. Yeah, that's the Tag Tuesday. Have a good one, BookTube. Let me know if you've read any of those books. Bye.